Howdy, my fellow experimenters and makers of cool things out of junk. You're looking at the back wheel of a pushy bike here. I've been trying to figure out how I'm going to drive this with my electric motor idea. I could go the same way as a number of other experimenters have gone and simply drive this, but that does mean that the pedals on the bike would spin whenever the motor does. So I've come up with this fiendish idea. What my CNC machine has been doing ever so lovingly, it has handmade this. Sort of resembles a clutch plate for a car. The idea is that it fits over the spokes. See that? It's self-locating. That way, when this sprocket, let's give it a minute, and this sprocket, which I've machined to fit over the bearing spindle, is set up on it. It sits nicely on top of there, and then bolts go through this ring of holes here to couple the sprocket to the spoke ring. And then to keep the spoke ring from falling off, Bwoocy, my CNC machine, has lovingly made 3 of these. And what they do is they fit, like so on there, producing spoke channels. There are 3 of those, the other 2 are down here. And what they do is they fit neatly together, forming a complete circle on the other side of this. So in practice, you put them like so, you get this, and you put it on the other side of the spokes, and you bolt it through, thereby retaining this. And once that's done, you get this here sprocket, and you put it on there, and you put the bolts through the whole thing to lock that sprocket into place. That way it fits neatly on the back wheel of the bike, allowing for a chain drive system, yet to be decided on, to spin the back wheel in such a way that the freewheel mechanism on the other side of this wheel doesn't take the pedals with it. That allows me to pedal if I want to, or to relax, depending upon how things are going. At the same time, this arrangement will spin the alternator when I'm going along, allowing me to apply regen braking to some degree, to put some charge back into the batteries, and also to save the brake pads, because the last thing I want to do is wear the paint off here. So that's how things are going at the moment. The assembly is completed now. The sprocket ring, or the spoke ring, or whatever I'm going to call that, is attached and bolted on both sides. You've got a little bit of RTV sealant in each of these channels to sort of soften the interface between the moving parts and the spokes. The sprocket, I think it's 48 teeth, is nicely bolted on to that, so as it's now firmly coupled. There's no separation between these. The next thing is to see whether it fits on the bike. So let's see, here we go. Put it on the bike. Oh yeah, perfect fit. Ah, I see, I've actually done it wrong. I'll be back. Alrighty, now that that technical issue with where to put the wheel on the bike has been resolved, here we are. We have our new chain sprocket situated on the opposite side of the wheel from the driven side, which means it's free to rotate without taking the pedals with it. I give it a wee bit of a spin up. Now, as you can see, the bike's upside down because, well, I am down under here, where everything is upside down by nature. The sprocket's not quite running true, and of course the camera won't focus, But I think when I look at the rest of the bike, I can see it tends to wobble a bit too, so maybe it's not an issue. Now that that's all together, I need to figure out how I'm going to transmit drive to that back wheel. On this bike, the suspension components may very well eliminate any prospect of fitting the alternator motor in here, and maybe I could put it here instead, or perhaps above the back wheel. I think the next thing is to flip this little puppy back on its feet so it looks a bit more normaler. Okie dokie, here's where I'm at with the electricity bike so far. I've got the alternator, just parked up there for now. That's a possible location for it in the finished build, where I frame up for it in some way, in such a way that it travels with the suspension. Because this bike has suspension here, there's going to be up and down movement of wheel relative to the frame, which means I need to somehow attach the alternator directly to the moving part so as the tension between it and the chain remains unchanged. If I can't do that, then the alternator may have to take up a position here where the suspension is, which means I take that out and lock the rear end of the bike, assuming I can make it all fit. But the idea to make this work is to put a 14-tooth sprocket here and have that coupled to a 52-tooth sprocket that will be situated about here, and the 52-tooth will drive to another 14-tooth which will drive onto this, so you have this two-stage step down, which would give me a ratio of about 12 to 1-ish, roundabout-ish. As you can see, I'm very precise with my mathematics here as I kind of make it up at the rate I'm going. So I've got me a little pile of bike parts from my good friends here and there in the bike sales departments. So I'd like to think that with those parts and the chains and bits and pieces and a little bit of hot melt glue from my welding station, I can get this little puppy attached to this little bikey, and I can have a go at becoming an electric bicyclist. Fingers crossed for good results, as I don't know whether this will even work. Okay, fellas and fella-esses, sayonara.